Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Back on Track. My name is Hamish, and alongside me is Jamie. How you doing, Jamie?
Hello. I am very well, thank you. Hamish, how are you today?
I'm good, yeah. Episode 4.
Ooh, we made
I know.
it. Well done.
We keep going. We keep going. How's your week been?
It's been good. It's been good. I've been on early shifts this week, so tiring. Been up since 5 o'clock in the morning, which is actually quite late for me.
Yeah. What's the usual average time to wake up?
Average, maybe sort of 4:40 a.m. on an early shift.
Yeah.
Earliest I do is 3:50 start, which is for me a 2:50 wake up alarm, which is horrible. Can you imagine going to sleep at, a normal person would go to sleep at around midnight, and then fucking 2 hours later your alarm's going off. But that's the life.
I mean, that's like getting up for the airport sort of time, you know.
Yeah, except it's every day for a week.
Yeah. To be honest, I know. I mean, not to that extent, but I do wish I was a morning person.
I never was until I got forced into having to be one. But
until you started getting paid for it, then you're like, well, okay,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? I'll do it actually now.
I mean, this week, guys, we have what do we have for the people? We've got all the regular segments, of what we do here. Weird news, genre of the week. What was the genre this week, Jamie?
Alternative genre of the week. This week's genre of the week, dear listeners, was Indian jazz.
Indian jazz. I mean, I'm happy to just step right into it this week if you're...
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Indian jazz. I wasn't familiar. I mean, I'm familiar with Indians and I'm familiar with jazz. Not familiar with them doing it together. I mean, Jamie, this was your choice this week. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. I like Indian jazz because I think when we've done these genres of the week, a lot of my genres that I've chosen have happened to be fusion genres, and that's no coincidence because I really do like taking two quite opposing things and sort of trying to mash them together to make something that works and something that's quite new and exciting. And I like Indian music, and it's part of my cultural heritage, being a half Indian myself. And I like jazz music, and so it's like, why not put them together? And Indian music has a very rich history of its own, and really very, very different to what we're used to, especially as Western classical musicians and Western musicians. It's completely different. There's similarities, of course, but it's very different. So it's nice to sort of take something that you're not quite, something that's really different from your type of musical culture and fuse it with something that you do know quite well. So it's like the East and the West combining, which I quite like. So Indian jazz is a fusion, obviously, between Indian music and jazz music, and characterized by its use of instrumentation. So we're taking instruments from the Indian classical tradition, so things like the sitar, the tabla, which is like a drum. Sitar is obviously like a funky guitar string looking thing. You've got the bansuri, which is like a flute, and you've got lots of other various different instruments. But the main thing is the use of something called raga, which is something that if you ever studied Indian music, you'll know is their equivalent of like a sort of scale or a mode. And it's essentially like, it's basically a scale. It's basically like a type of musical scale or musical mode. So we've got like the harmonic minor. They might call it something or another raga. I don't actually know the actual technical Indian terms for it, but they use those and improvise around those in over sort of jazz chords. You might find a traditional typical jazz setting where you've got, bass drum and piano, and then you've got a solo sitar or a solo bansuri or something like that. So it's often, a jazz setting or bedding, and then the soloist is doing something, improvising around Indian raga. So yeah, that's just a little brief little.
Mm-hmm.
I say brief. I fucking waffled on
No,
for
no,
ages.
no. I think that was.
But yeah.
I mean,
So-
I hadn't listened to the genre before, and I kind of actually had a little bit of trouble trying to find songs that were like distinctively like Indian inspired, because a lot of them it was Indian musicians playing sort of westernized jazz. I mean, some of the favorites of mine that I popped up for me. Good Hope by Dave Holland, Zakir Hussain, and Chris Potter. So a lot of the ones that are in this list are, European musicians collaborating with Indian musicians. And then another one that I think is a really like big standout of that, collaboration is John McLaughlin. I don't know if you'd heard his stuff.
Oh yeah, he's a big name in Indian jazz. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, his name isn't Indian, so you can see it's
Yeah.
he's
Well, it's something which is very typical in all forms of art, which is a musician or an artist from one culture taking inspiration from another culture. The Beatles did it famously.
yeah.
If you think about their song "Within You, Without You," that's massively Indian inspired,
Mm-hmm.
and lots of other of their songs are Indian inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you've got the opposite, where you've got people like Anushka Shankar, which the famous daughter of Ravi Shankar, who's a sitar player, worked with the Beatles, and she's taken inspiration from the Western tradition, and so you've got the same fusion but from both perspectives.
Yeah, you've got. I mean, a lot of at least the use of a sitar.
That's a big theme, isn't it? The
yeah.
sitar.
But
That's
even
massive.
just like how that's gone into, similar with the Beatles, the Brian Jonestown Massacre. Have you heard of them?
No, I've not. Is
They're
that like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
they're a like very hippie band from the 90s, and I think late 80s. And they still make music. I mean, they've made so many albums though, which I don't know how many things they had to consume to make that many albums, but it's one of their records has some really good sitar use in it, and it was actually, I think, whilst listening to that album, their Satanic Majesty's Second Request from 2008, actually. So not that long ago, actually.
Yeah.
And there's some songs from that which have some use of the sitar. Like, there's a couple songs where I'm like, this is almost a direct rip-off of the Beatles, But yeah, I mean, I remember during that point of like listening to them, I actually wanted to try and get a sitar, or at least looked at it.
They're expensive.
They are so expensive. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Like, I thought
they're big as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if how much of a career I would have pursued as a sitar player with that investment of money, but I think they're really.
Don't know until you try, Hamish.
I know. Well,
sitar. Give it.
I would like to, and there's also a really good. There's a guitarist on YouTube who did a sitar cover, like a sitar metal song.
You hear a lot of that. That's another type of, similar type of fusion.
Yeah.
Is
Rob
really cool.
Scallon. I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah, because he had done a whole bunch of different fusion stuff, and he had I remember he wrote a piece of sitar with like distortion and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. But yeah, no, going back onto Indian jazz, I mean, some other hits that I found, Whirlpool by Baju Bhatt and Red Sun Bhatt. I can't say it. Bhatt.
Bhatt.
Yeah, Bat.
Hat. I don't know. This is a regular theme with our podcast.
I know. We're not
just butchering pronunciations. It's our fault for choosing.
I know. Well, this is what
diverse.
I thought if we were
music.
gonna do,
Yeah.
we need to get something like just from the roots of Britain, where everyone's called John and Simon.
Yeah.
13th Hour by Kendraka. That was also another song from mine. Yeah, I mean, as we say every episode now is we're going to have a little little playlist of this for you guys to go and have a listen. But yeah, no, honestly, I mean, I think what I found really interesting, was the use of the sort of, what's the instrument that they use as like a drone in a lot of Indian music?
Yes, that's a really good question. So, there's the drone in Indian music is a massive feature. You hear it all the time, and sitars often like play the drone because obviously sitar's got loads of strings. So you often play the low two strings are playing the drone, and then you improvise all on one or two strings maximum. It's not like a guitar. If you imagine you're playing like a pentatonic scale on a guitar. You're using all the different strings, aren't you? You're going, your hand stays in one position and you just move up the string. Sitar players will actually play the whole thing on one string, so you see their hands going up and down and up and down, up and down like that.
Yeah,
because they're going all over the place, which is quite cool. And they've got underneath those strings, they've got what's called sympathetic strings. So you'll hear in the background like sympathetic harmonic. Harmonic sort of vibrations in the background, creating that sort of ethereal harmonic sound. And so that's sort of a bit about the anatomy of the sitar, and the instrument that they use to create the drone is called they've got different ones. So like obviously you can do it on the sitar, you can do it on the tanpura.
That's it, tanpura. Yeah,
tanpura.
I used one of those because I had to write a piece for a play, which which was meant to be like a sort of seduced state where there was an elephant as well from India. So I used one of those. Yeah.
Again, it's another string instrument where it creates that sort of stringy sound of drone. The drone, for those that don't know maybe not know what a drone is a long held note of the tonic note. So like, imagine you're in the key of C, let's call it the key of C, although they'll call it something else like a raga in Indian music. You'll have a C being held throughout, but it will usually be a C and a G, the tonic and the dominant, or the one and the fifth, because that creates that. I mean, I'm trying to do an example. I've got like a guitar here.
Oh, there you go.
So
yeah.
So it will sound a bit like this. Oh, hold on. I've just bashed it against the... You'll have that going...
Yeah.
1 and 5. You got 1, 5. And you just got that going whilst the improvisation is going over the top. And all that sort of stuff. The other thing you've got is you've got like reed organs, which are a bit like... If you think of an accordion, that's like a reed squashy type thing. They have one that they put on the floor where they can like, you see that a lot in like Sikh temples. They use that in Sikh music and traditional Sikh music. But the drone is a hugely important part, and you hear that all the time in sitar music. And if you think about Indian, classical Indian music, it's all about improvisation. Indian classical music, you've got obviously the traditions from North India called Hindustani and the Southern Indian Carnatic tradition, and it's all about improvisation. They'll take a raga and a tala, which is like your time and your key, like your time signature and your key signature, if you will, to sort of translate into Western terms, and they'll improvise around that. So a lot of it is not written down like we would expect. It's they'll base it around sort of specific ragas which represent different moods, different seasons, times of day, etc. So what you're gonna each raga has its own feel, its own style, its own tempo, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's very different. It's really worth deep diving into Indian music because it's really different to what we're used to as Western musicians. So it's really interesting to see how it works when you try and piece it together.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that we can have a look at throughout the series. I think there's so many different, fusions of Indian music and Western music,
Of course, Indian rock, Indian, metal, all sorts. Indian in orchestral music as well, which is, there are concertos for sitar, which I really recommend listening to. Some of the pieces that I found that I think really encapsulate Indian jazz fusion, which will be on the playlist for those who want to listen to it. You've got Nocturne by Mukta or Mukta, Mukta, and you've got Acid Head, which I love that name, Acid Head by the John Schofield Band, which I really like that one. I definitely recommend listening to Acid Head. You've also got Kirwani 1.5 plus 8.
Are you sure that's not the file you've written?
The file name. Yeah. No, it's literally, if you go on Spotify and type in Kirwani, Kirwani, the number 1 dot, like the word 1 dot, then the number 5 plus symbol 8 dot, and then the word 5. That's literally what it's called on Spotify. Bit weird, but it's a good piece of music, so who cares what it's called? Other pieces include Cosmic Hug, Rafa God Saranga, we'll go with that, by Joe Harriott and John Mayer Quintet, the double quintet.
Say John Mayer?
John Mayer.
Oh, so not John Mayer, the guitarist.
Maybe it is. Maybe he's taken a delve into sitar playing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay.
But yeah, so there you go. There's a little bit about it. Really, definitely recommend listening to it. And I think it's a very interesting genre. And I actually am gonna give it a go of maybe writing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be away from Sunday, so I won't unfortunately have time to write a piece this week. But Jamie's going to take over the realms, and I'm going to try.
Hopefully, you've been enjoying the little pieces that we've been composing in these genres. We had a lot of fun writing together that piece of palm wine from last week's episodes.
Which sort of, for those if you had a listen, you might have noticed how it sort of processed. I was very proud of myself. I did all the put reverb and tape emulator and stuff, so it sounded like an old tape from the 50s, recorded in a room. But yeah, no, I've been enjoying it. I think it's a good way of just stretching our musical
repertoire.
Yeah, exactly, and trying out stuff which I don't think I've ever would have written a song like that. But yeah, no. I think there's definitely, out of all the genres you had a look at, I think Indian jazz is one that I'm going to probably I'm going to come back to. There's a few songs
you reckon so? Yeah. And I think it's just very interesting. It's so different to what we usually listen to. You have to listen to it in order to keep your repertoire and your sort of your taste in music and your knowledge of music eclectic and diverse and a broad range. It's really important to listen as a musician to be able to appreciate all types of music. So
I'd argue though that it's actually one of the more similar genres that we've listened to, because I think the jazz influence. I know you listen to jazz as well. I from the sort of jazz that I've listened to, and because a lot of the Indian jazz is already taking a lot of the structures and fundamentals from jazz music and then putting it in with the Indian scales and instrumentation. There's already something that like fundamental, which I think is close enough to what people have already heard. So it's not that as big of a gap. Because I feel like stuff like klezmer metal, like it's using scales that I'd never listened to. But yeah, no, I think I really enjoyed having a look at some of the tracks. And speaking of our alternative genres of the week, little throwback to our second episode with klezmer metal. I was watching The Boys the other day. I've been trying to catch up on the series.
Oh yeah.
Have you watched The Boys?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. It has been recommended to me though.
Yes, it's a really good series. It's extremely violent and gruesome and sort of, just tries to do everything as outrageous as it possibly can. But there's a bit where a fight breaks out during a bat mitzvah. Won't spoil it. But during that scene, they played some klezmer metal.
Because it's a fight at a bat mitzvah.
Yeah. They played
the only acceptable genre. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a fun little reference. Yeah. No. I mean, it's
good. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go. It's being applied into the modern world. Yeah. I went and actually watched. Recently, speaking of things that I've seen, I went and watched that new Deadpool film. Well, I say new; it's been out for ages, but I was finally able to go and watch it. Are you? I don't know. Are you a big superhero fan?
Not really. I've never really done superhero films. I have seen the first Deadpool a long time ago, so I can't remember anything that happens. But I've never really been into superheroes. Although I did meet a security guard the other day actually, and he was a security guard at the Samsung factory.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they call him Guardian of the Galaxy.
I knew you were gonna.
Wait till you meet about the superhero I met at the Galaxy Chocolate Factory.
What is he also called? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardian of the Galaxy. Yeah, that's the joke.
Yeah. Well,
that's my dad joke gone now. For the
no, we'll have
find a new one.
Yeah. Well, I watched the new Deadpool, and I don't know. It's just, do you know what the one thing I get kind of pretty sick about a lot of these action films is that I think they call it plot armor, where I mean James, our producer, is he studied film, so he should know, but where characters are essentially invincible until they need to not be, Yeah, like there was a whole scene where, they drive into somewhere, they've smashed the door open, there's, people flying everywhere, so they've already killed a couple people. And, do the guards shoot them? No, they wait until they've come out the car and start talking before they start shooting, And I was just like, what did I watch the other day where this is relevant to the podcast. So have you seen the film Unstoppable? No. I haven't. It's a Denzel Washington film, and it's about a runaway train, and it's a train. It's in full throttle, and it's doing 70 miles per hour, and there's no driver, and it's gonna they think it's gonna derail, and it's carrying loads of toxic chemicals, and it's gonna derail and explode and kill loads of people. And Denzel Washington does the typical Hollywood thing of climbing on top of the freight train and then jumping from each car to try and get to the front and all that sort of stuff. And it's so unrealistic from an actual train professional's perspective. It's such a unrealistic film, but it's like it's funny, and it's for dramatic effect. But I mean, if you try to jump on top of a train and jump from one car to the next, I mean, you just wouldn't happen. You'd go flying off. That's your biggest actually I've ever heard you do.
Actually, yeah. I don't get me wrong. It's a good film.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good film.
I don't know.
But the bit where they couple at high speed going backwards and then it's just but it's a great film.
I mean, I think honestly though, I know you said you're not a big superhero fan, but I think you should definitely try and give The Boys a watch, because I think The Boys fills the void that I think a lot of people have now with, after years of Marvel movies being so PG and so like, nobody's going to die unless we want them to. Yeah. Where it's just so grotesque, so violent, and just doing everything that you're like, oh yeah, this is how it would actually happen. Like not to, so extreme, but like it's very extreme, but like the idea of like, if a guy lasers you, you explode, Oh, and the guy's a psychopath? Okay, yeah, great, But yeah, no, it's a really good show, but
I did a weird film, like those really cheap horror films. I did a marathon of those. Well, I say marathon. We watched a few with some good friends of mine, and we watched a film called what was it called? Curse of the Killer Scrotum or so? No,
Oh
it was
my
called it was Curse of the Killer Pinata and the Scrotum. And we've also watched. There's one called Llamageddon, which is about a
Wow.
killer llama. There's all sorts of horrible, weird ones. There's
Llamageddon.
that. Yeah, there's the Winnie the Pooh horror film. If you've seen,
Yeah,
that.
is that good? I mean, I
I
think
don't know. I've not seen it. It's come up on Amazon, and I do
I
really want to watch
thought
it.
you'd
but-
yeah. I mean,
No, the ones that we watched were called The Scrotum, which is about a mutatant scrotum which goes and kills people, and
my
Curse
God.
of the Killer Pinata. And there's also a second one as well. There's all sorts. Amazon is a treasure trove for those kind of weird. Like, I'm writing a screenplay at the moment
Are
actually
you?
called Curse of the Killer Toothbrush 2: Revenge of the Toothpaste.
Nice. Well, what happens in the first one? Are you just going to go
Well,
straight
that-
through the sequel?
Straight, but that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like Star Wars. You know, why start on episode 1?
Yeah, you got to wait until. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
And when people say, "Why have you started on a second?" you'd be like, "The same reason they started Star Wars late, because the
Exactly,
technology
yeah.
is not advanced enough to, see my vision." Yeah, I mean, we watched. I used to do that a lot during uni. With one of my mates, is we would just like sit down and watch like really bad movies.
Yeah, so bad it's good in a way.
Yeah, I mean, have you watched? Do you know Neil Breen? Have you heard of Neil Breen?
No, I've not heard of that.
Neil Breen is he is a filmmaker who does everything. He directs it, he writes it, he produces it, he stars in it, and he makes quite a few. He's made quite a few films. I'm not sure where he's really got the budget from, but excuse me. His films. I mean, I remember watching them not that long ago this year. And we'd watched some bad, me and my mate had watched some bad films in the past, but like his films, like the plot was so disorientating. And I'm not sure because we made a drinking game out of it.
I quite like,
we
I like, those are two things I love.
Yeah.
Disorientating plots and drink a game out.
Well,
of
this is the
films.
problem though,
That
because
was-
we'd made a drinking game out of it. We'd gone quite deep into the film, and I was trying to figure out. I think this was like the third film we'd watched of the night as well. So and I was watching it and going, I've never had a plot make me feel nauseous. Trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to figure it out, but you're like, what the hell is happening? And I was generally.
Curse of the Killer Sofa is one of those that makes you think.
Is that
what's
another
going on?
film?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, Killer. It's called Killer Sofa. Yeah. Killer Sofa, Killer Pinata. Yeah. Oh god, there's loads. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know they have the killer tire as well.
Yeah. There's also
Honestly, you
killer
just do like
anything.
killer like any inanimate
Yeah.
object. Killer frame.
Yeah,
That would be a
doing
good
Killer
one.
Toothbrush.
Anyone who puts like, if you put a picture of somebody in that frame, they die. But I don't know how many times you change the picture. But maybe
Yeah, that's
yeah. I mean, you could do like a short where a grandma's like, oh, which grandchild do I put in this old frame that I bought from a witch?
Right. Yeah.
And from a witch, and then every time she's like, what about this one? And then they crash their car. What about this one? Dies in the bath. What about this one? Plane crash. I'm not sure. Just like slowly murdering her grandchildren.
Yeah. Slowly murdering her grandchildren.
I need to watch.
Why do you sound like Consuela when you do that?
I don't know. I think that's just like my default of old old European lady. But yeah, I mean, there got a point where I had to like have a break, have a detox of bad films, where I was like purposely just watching loads of them, and I had to at one point just be like, I need to watch like The Godfather or something just to like
a good film.
Yeah. I know, very strange, very weird. But you know what also is weird? The news.
What else is weird? The news is weird. And that was a really good segue.
What's going on in Manchester, Jamie?
Nothing. But let me tell you what is going on in America.
Yeah.
This week in the headlines in America.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump vows to release classified footage of close encounters with UFOs if he is re-elected. So there you go. That's what's been in the headlines, and it just begs the question. And I'm going to ask you this: Do you think that the government has these encounters with aliens? Do you even believe in aliens? I mean, do you think this is going to happen? What do you think?
That's a really big claim from Donald Trump. I think, that was what people were saying when he was in power, was they were saying, well, if there was aliens, he would have, I think Trump would have been the person to go, there's aliens, they're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that was a good impression.
Right here, I'll keep trying to get better at it. Just have you ever heard Shane Gillis's Trump impression? Comedian.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's like the best one out there. But sorry, repeat the question. Do I think there's aliens? I guess, but I've never seen them, and I don't know which videos are doctored. So, it's sort of.
Let me leave you with this, Hamish. We are aliens. We are to another species that may or may not be out there. We are the aliens.
But aliens to Earth, I think that's the differentiation.
Yeah. I personally think there must be how many billions and billions of galaxies and stars and planets are there? Then what the probability is low, but when you've got an infinite universe and so many nearly infinite amount of planets out there, there has to be something going on. There has to be.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those where it's become such a mess of false, fake news, and you don't. I guess maybe there's a lot of conspiracy theories that think, oh, that's the government trying to make it so the media is so mumbled with what's real and what's fake, people can't differentiate it.
When I watched the film Paul, I thought it was a documentary.
Yeah, really.
That's a good film.
It's all right. It's their most Americanized film.
Yeah, it is.
Those guys,
It is.
Yeah, I think it. I don't think they wrote it, or but yeah, no, that I think it's interesting, and we won't go into it too much, but.
Oh yeah, there's so much you can say on this subject.
Yeah, but even just about Trump's whole current, run for presidency, he sort of knows which. I think he's trying to really get the basement dwellers. He's protecting crypto. Yeah, he's protecting his crypto, the crypto bros. He's going to be protecting the alien bros, I guess. The alien lovers. So. He knows which audiences to really double down on. But I was reading up today actually about the because there was somebody who I think came out saying that aliens were real. But I think that was a few years ago. Somebody in the CIA or something. But because it had gone, I think because like I said, because people have been so exposed to it for so many years, it's almost lackluster result where it's just unless they come down and take us all, which you
never know. You never know. I reckon. There's loads of theories, some really interesting ones actually, about why if aliens do exist, why haven't they visited us already? And you'd think, well, if the universe is 13 billion years old or however old it is, surely there's an advanced species out there that is also looking for life. So why haven't they come and found us? There's some really interesting theories out there, and there's some great stuff on YouTube by a channel called Korksgesagt. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Korksgesagt.
It's a German word. KURG something or another. Korksgesagt. And
never gets.
they do
never gets
really,
easier
really, really
with
interesting
pronunciation.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Another
Sorry,
dodgy pronunciation. But yeah, they do like really, really interesting videos, like, you know, animated and everything, and like well narrated. Yeah, really good. Give it a watch. There's some really interesting stuff out there. One of my favorite videos by them is called The Egg, or something to do with the theory about solipsism to do with the egg. I could talk all
Oh, it's like,
ages
is it
about
the chicken or
solipsism
the
and
egg?
that.
Is that?
No. It's to do with like like epistemology and eschatology and that sort of solipsism, which is to do with like what happens after you die and existence. Yeah, I mean, I could talk for ages.
Yeah. Well,
about that, but it's all to do with like existentialism and all that sort of.
Yeah. Is there anything else from this news, or just that he vows to release this news?
I mean, he's saying that the Pentagon have. He's saying that they definitely have, you know, video footage and like, you know, proper CIA reports and footage of UFOs. He's saying that they have seen UFOs, and that he will release these classified files.
Oh wow!
And everybody's thinking, you know, what is it? Is it true? Is it not? So, but yeah,
I mean,
there you go.
One little final sort of idea from this. I feel like because everybody, I think, has the idea that these aliens are all going to be mammal shaped, you know, with legs and feet.
Yeah,
and that's
most aliens that we when we do ever first come across aliens, if we do, they're going to be microorganisms and bacteria. And
that's what I'm thinking. It's like, it's not. I don't think it's going to be quite as. It's not going to be like, you know, Alien and Predator, you know, where they've got arms and legs and a funny head. I think
and a ray gun and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's probably going to be a completely different organism that we can't really even comprehend. But
like even like a small you know, rodenty type thing, or a small lizardy type thing, but we'll wait and see. I mean, you know, watch this space.
Watch this space. You know, maybe by the time this episode comes out, we
we
can all be you know, enslaved by the alien race. But I mean, you know, whilst we're still here and whilst we're still on Earth and we're still doing interesting things, the Lake Michigan, a swimmer, Jim Dreyer, 61-year-old ultra swimmer known as the Shark, made another attempt to swim across Lake Michigan from Michigan to Wisconsin after previous unsuccessful tries. On Monday evening, he set out to Grand Haven, Michigan, planning to swim at least 80 miles to Milwaukee. Towing a small inflatable boat with supplies, Dreyer anticipated the journey would take 72 hours without sleep, which is ridiculous.
72 hours of straight swimming. I mean, that is...
Yeah, and this guy's 61, by the way.
How would you sleep? I mean, you wouldn't.
You can't. No, it's just like consistent, like just constant swimming.
You would. I'm sure you could. This guy's 61.
Yeah. And,
oh my God, I would die if I tried to do that.
Anyways, this was his fourth attempt since 2023, with his most recent one in August ending after 60 miles when he lost his GPS device and veered off course. And unfortunately, again, this time he didn't make it. Despite swimming 40 hours, Dre was forced to return to Grand Haven on Wednesday due to poor lake conditions. He posted on Facebook that he was safe and thanks his supporters, stating there was only 2 good hours in this 40-hour swim. Dreyer first crossed Lake Michigan in 1998, but recent efforts have been hampered by factors such as weather and equipment failure. I mean, are you a good swimmer, Jamie?
I mean, I can swim and I enjoy it, but I wouldn't say I'm a good swimmer. I mean, I'm certainly not good at the racing type stuff. I like playing water polo and water sports and that sort of stuff.
I mean, you get one of those little things that you drop to the bottom of the pool and you have to go and grab it.
Oh yeah, those things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, God, that you've just brought me back to a memory that I have not. That is like, wow, I remember those things. Yeah.
But I mean,
I forgot those even existed. Yeah, that brings me back.
Yeah, no, I'm the worst swimmer. I think I can do it, but it will really take me a long time to get somewhere.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be able to cross Lake Michigan.
No.
I mean, I'm looking at it on a map, and it doesn't actually. I'm thinking a few beers, and I could probably give it a good crack. I could have a good crack at it. But,
So you think you could do a 72-hour swim?
No, I just couldn't do. I don't think I can stay awake for 72 hours.
No,
I mean,
exactly.
You have to have a lot of like. How would you like? Okay, that's a stupid question. I was going to say, how would you like piss and shit, but you're in the fucking water, wouldn't you? Just wouldn't care about that.
I know.
Like, what would you eat?
But he's also got.
How would you eat?
He's also
How would you
got a. Yeah. Well, I think he's got a supplies boat, small inflatable boat, which he has to tow with him. So he's carrying all of his gear with him whilst trying to do this.
Surely there's some guy driving the boat.
No. There's a picture. I mean, we'll put a little picture up. I mean, the reason I chose this article was just, I don't know, I just found it funny because looking up these articles, the first, back to back, it says, swimmer known as the Shark is trying to cross Lake Michigan. And then the next article across says, ultra swimmer abandons attempt to cross Lake Michigan again a day later.
Yeah, so
which, at first I was going, oh, that's funny. But I mean, the guy put in, good graft. He did 40 hours and he's 61. So, I mean,
But you can't he did 40 hours. So he got just over halfway.
No, he said only 2 hours of that were good. So he maybe was behind track as well. But he said he had to stop.
But if you gave up, like, even a couple of hours in, how do you get back to land? You have to swim all the way back. I mean, you might just swim.
No, he had I think he had people. So it says here he has people with him.
Right,
that are able
he's cheating. So he's got a boat.
No, he'll have people on standby. So he'll probably radio them in and say, "Hello, mate, not working this time. We've got to go back." Which
try again next year.
Yeah. So Jim Dreyer, the Shark, power to him, I guess. I don't think I don't think he'll be listening to this, but I think
if you are on the off chance, try
maybe
again.
Yeah.
Third time's the charm.
Let's give it. Let's give it. No, I think this is fifth time.
We back you.
Fifth time's a charm. Yeah. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. If anything else, if he's able to finally get it. And now to the world of trains. Jamie, have you got a train fact for us?
I do, Hamish, and this one is quite interesting, actually. I found it really interesting. So, did you know that there is a species of mosquito which is only found in the London Underground?
I didn't. What is that?
So, it's essentially when the London Underground was built, obviously some mosquitoes got caught in and are now there, and because they've been so isolated from other mosquitoes and they're now in their own underground environment, in their own system, they've actually started to adapt and evolve to that environment, and now they've actually become a new, its own new thing. They're different to other mosquitoes. They've got they're considered to be a separate subspecies and have been named. I mean, the technical word is Culex molestus. That's the binomial Latin name. And there are genetic differences between. There are even genetic differences between mosquitoes living on different lines. So you've got Piccadilly line mosquito and a Northern line mosquito, and they have genetic differences. So I think that's really, really quite interesting, and that comes to you from the researchers at Queen Mary and Westfield College, London. And they're able to interbreed and stuff. So it's really interesting how that's
crazy. I mean, I don't understand. Is it just the rats that they really, get? Because I feel like people aren't there long enough to be attacked by a mosquito. So it must be the rats and other germs that are.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, and I suppose people do.
Maybe the TFL folks sat in their little boxes.
Yeah,
they're there long enough. Yeah.
The drivers, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a question. What do you think is the most unhinged underground line?
Unhinged? Right. I'm not like some millennial cool person. You're going to have to tell me what unhinged means.
Like the weirdest, the wildest, the craziest.
Oh, the wildest and craziest. I mean, if I was going to say a station, I would say Westminster because I love the escalator array to get down to the deep level tube. That is really cool. But
Okay.
also, I mean, it's like something out of a dystopian. I mean, if you want to go dystopian, take a look at Canada Water. And
I mean, what about the people? Shall I give you my example?
Yeah, go on.
Because I think the Piccadilly line is the worst. It's got some fucking weirdos on it.
Don't you live on the Piccadilly line? Hamish?
Yeah. And
No wonder.
Maybe I'm one of the weird ones, but I've had to endure my fair share of weirdos on the tube. I once saw we were waiting for the train. I mean, this one was going to Uxbridge, but a bunch of people started running off the train, and it was because some women started pissing in the actual tube.
As bad as it sounds, I've seen that happen so many times. It's such a common occurrence for people to do that on trains.
Does this happen a lot up north?
Oh yeah, it probably happens more up north because, well, northern.
There's toilets. There's literally toilets on your trains, though. I mean, speaking of crazy people, I mean, what is grinding your gears this week, Jamie?
Oh, Hamish, don't get me started. So, something that's grinding my gears this week is the pool etiquette.
Etiquette.
We're talking about the game pool, like billiards type situation. And there is a general etiquette when you're playing pool, right? You've got to have, obviously they pound on the table and you don't hog the table. And if you're in a big group and that sort of stuff. And I went to a pub the other day and people were just not following the etiquette of pool. Like if you see a group waiting, you offer them the table. You don't hog the table. Do you know what I mean? You have you play a reasonable amount of games and then you offer it, you don't hog it all night. And this group were literally on the table all night, like for hours and hours and hours. They were just like hogging the table all night. And yeah, it's just inconsiderate and a little bit, not very nice because I like playing pool. And yeah, so that annoyed me.
Fair enough. Do you know what's grinding my gears?
Go on, what is?
I mean, this is just like a general. Again, it's about etiquette, but people not bunching up on the path, on the walkways or the pavement. Sorry, when you're like in groups. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I know what you mean, yeah.
So you'll be walking. A lot in the UK. A lot of pavements are very small, and max it's really only 2 or 3 people. And sometimes when there's big groups or even 2 people and the group does not bunch up and start going into a line to give way for the other person, it really pisses me off because I sometimes end up having to go onto the road, and this sounds like a very
exactly. Single file, please.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just just be nice to people. Be
exactly.
Be sensible and have etiquette. That's the main thing I think from this is just having etiquette.
It's social,
sympathy,
situational
social
awareness.
sympathy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just
You
have some sort of consideration for there are other people, there are other people out there that want to use the same road as you or use the same.
Yeah. So if people, if you've gone this far in this episode, this week, just be more mindful. Be. I'm sure our listeners are very mindful, but
yeah.
But look out for the people at the pool table. Offer you the pool table. And
exactly.
go in.
And here's a life hack for you: if you don't want to give up the pool table, why not play a game of doubles? Invite them to join you and make friends in the process.
Yeah, that's there you go. Well, Jamie, I just want to finish off on the train. No, sorry, not the train fact. We're going for your dad joke. Can we get your dad?
I've given you about 3.
You've already given me, but
have
you got one that's a distinct dad joke to finish us off?
I have, and this comes from a sheep that I met earlier today, and he drove away in his car. But guess what car the sheep was driving?
What was that?
A Lamborghini. There you go.
That's been Back on Track. I've been Hamish. He's been Jamie. Thank you very much, guys, for listening, and we'll see you next week. I'll be in Portugal next week, so I'm going to be doing a session in the sun this time. So, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. See you later.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.